Lytudiep. Hello everyone. It's wonderful to see Diep and James together and give each other sweet kisses. After many stories, James has returned. Diep has returned. Today let's follow this story. The golden glow of sunset bathed the quiet streets of the town where Diep had lived most of her life. The trees stood still. Rooftops basked in the amber light. And for a moment, the world looked peaceful, but peace was something her heart hadn't known for years. She stood by her window, lost in the stillness, haunted by a silence she had long stopped trying to fill. 5 years ago, James had left. No call, no letter, not even a message. Just silence, heavy, unexplained silence, on the eve of their wedding. She was left standing with a dress she never wore and dreams she never got to live. Diep tried to forget. She buried herself in work, surrounded herself with friends and family, and tried to craft a life that didn't ache with the absence of him. Yet James was everywhere, in the scent of rain, in the sound of piano music, in the echo of dreams that once promised forever. Then, one ordinary afternoon, a letter arrived. No sender, no signature, just a few words written in the familiar tilt of a hand she once held. I've come back. Can you forgive me? Would you still marry me? Her hands trembled. Her chest tightened. The emotions she'd worked so hard to bury began to stir, not with rage or despair, but something far more dangerous, hope. Far away, James stood in the airport, his heart heavier than the suitcase he carried. The years had done little to dim his love for Diep. If anything, they had sharpened it, made it clearer, more painful. He left back then not out of cruelty but cowardice. His life was a storm, family obligations, a career in crisis, pressure from all sides. He convinced himself that leaving her was the noble choice, that she deserved stability. Not a man drowning in his own confusion. But as the years passed, success lost meaning, and every victory felt hollow, because she wasn't there. They met again at their old cafe, the place where love once bloomed effortlessly between them. The wooden chairs and warm lights hadn't changed, but the air between them was no longer innocent. It was thick with years of silence, of questions left unanswered, of pain that neither one knew how to name. When James walked in and saw her, he paused, not because she had changed, but because he had. Diep, he said softly, his voice carrying both guilt and longing. I know I hurt you. I know words aren't enough. But I want a second chance, not because I deserve one, but because I've never stopped loving you. She looked at him, unsure. She had imagined this moment so many times, sometimes with anger, sometimes with longing, but now that it was real, she felt both frozen and undone. James, too much time has passed, she whispered. We're not the same people anymore. I know, he replied, reaching for her hand. We can't go back. But maybe we can build something new. They didn't rush. Instead, they walked the long road back to each other slowly, through old conversations revisited, through stories of what had happened in the years apart, through tears, through apologies that came too late and yet still mattered. One night, under a sky full of stars, James took a deep breath and knelt down. There are no guarantees, he said. But I know this, I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life. Will you marry me, not because we promised once, but because now, I'm ready to keep that promise? Tears filled her eyes. She nodded, and the stars above seemed to shimmer in quiet approval. As the wedding day approached, excitement mingled with fear. Love had returned. Yes, but trust, though healing, still carried its scars. There were still moments when Diep stared into the distance, wondering if love alone was enough to keep the past from returning. James, meanwhile, poured himself into every detail, not to impress her, but to prove to her, and to himself, that this time, he was staying. The night before the wedding, Diep sat in her room, watching the stars outside her window, the silver moonlight casting soft shadows on her floor. Her thoughts swirled with doubts. What if history repeated itself? What if he left again? A quiet knock broke her thoughts. James stood there, hesitant, holding a small box. "I know we've talked about the wedding," he said, "but I wanted to give you something more personal." Inside the box was a delicate silver locket, engraved with their initials and the date they first met. "It's not much," he murmured, "but this is my promise to you. I'm not leaving. Not again." She clutched the locket to her chest. For the first time in a very long time, she allowed herself to believe. The morning of the wedding was bright and warm. The little chapel filled with light as friends and family gathered. Diep, dressed in white, stood at the door, heart pounding. She wasn't the same girl who once dreamed of fairy tale endings. She was stronger now, wiser, and still willing to love. As the music played, she walked down the aisle, step by step, toward the man who had broken her once, and now stood ready to rebuild with her. James looked at her with eyes full of awe, regret, and love. When she reached him, he took her hands and whispered, "I don't deserve you, but I swear, I will spend my life making it right." "I believe you," she replied, steady and clear, "and I choose you." Again. The ceremony was simple, honest, beautiful. No grand declarations, no promises of perfection, only the quiet courage of two people who had faced their worst and still chose each other. When they exchanged rings, it wasn't about starting over. It was about starting forward, together. In the days that followed, laughter returned to their home. There were still arguments, still shadows of the past. But this time, there was also presence, commitment, growth. Their wedding wasn't the happy ending of a story. It was the beginning of one. And what they learned was this: love, true love, is not perfect. It does not always arrive on time. It falters. It breaks. But if both hearts are willing, if both people choose to stay, love can return, love can heal, love can begin again.